Once bitten, twice shy, Clawbot, or OpenClaw, has banned all mentions of crypto in their Discord, because who doesn't like a little drama? But more on that in a second. Welcome to Crypto Currents, the weekly podcast so people working in crypto tech and blockchain, talking about everything you need to know to be smarter at crypto, blockchain, and hey, maybe even some finance too. Think of us like the perfect first bite of a birthday cake. And no, I will not elaborate further. I'm your host, Vince, and today I'm joined by our resident degen, Kale.
That birthday cake intro was so specific, and you just reminded me I dreamt of birthday cakes last night. So, cheers,
Hey,
bro.
man. We're all from the same mind now at this point. And
Cheers.
Katya from the Mew team.
Yeah, you reminded me of one of my favorite memes, which is like, it turns out that you can just buy a birthday cake and eat it whenever, nobody checks, which is
Right?
like one of the few upsides of adulting when you realize that.
No,
That
absolutely. So let's start things off with talking kind of about a follow-up. Last week we talked about Base leaving the Optimism stack and kind of building their own. And like this has caused even more drama as we see kind of a lot of like faith in the Optimism superchain stack kind of like being rugged, for lack of a better term. What are your guys' thoughts about this? Like both from this, but also like the macro perspective of kind of the challenges of spinning up new L1s or L2s or ecosystems. Katya, kick us off.
Well, I mean, the whole thing makes perfect sense. I'm actually surprised now that it didn't happen earlier. I think Base provided like over 90% of revenue for the opposite. I don't know, something ridiculous like that. Clearly, they were the most successful project, if you even can call it that, on the stack. Um, and there was a time, remember, when everyone was becoming a stack.
Yeah.
Then Arbitrum and Polygon and ZK Sync and Starknet. The list
Sure.
goes on.
Everyone.
Yeah, so everything was becoming a stack, and every dApp was going to have its own chain, and it's going to be this beautiful, huge constellation of chains and dApps and things. And now this calls into question not just Optimism and its survival, but the whole model of the stack. And I thought it was interesting that Base in their announcement, they said obviously it's going to be faster for us. It's going to be easier. I mean, obviously, of course, to run their own chain. They can do updates whenever. They can review the code whenever. They can just limit it to whatever they need as opposed to dealing with all the other stuff. But the other thing they said is when Base wins, Ethereum wins, or vice versa, whatever. So they are leaning into the Ethereum connection, even though they're doing their own chain, but it's all Ethereum all the time. They're going to resolve to Ethereum. So yeah, I think it brings up an interesting question that is an ongoing question in crypto. What's the hardest to do, right? What is the blockchain the hardest? Is doing a popular dApp the hardest? Is infrastructure the hardest? Is a wallet the hardest? What is the hardest thing to do yourself, and what is the best thing to just have as a service? And I think crypto hasn't answered that question fully yet.
Yeah.
I think we don't know. But it seems that I guess Ethereum is saying right now, like with this recent layer 2 drama, that actually blockchain is hard. It's hard to do it really well. So, it's once you get it right, like Ethereum has, knock on wood, then everybody else better fall in line. But on the other hand, Base is saying, we can do our own chain. The main thing is that we have all these users and all this revenue, that we got the user, we got the fit, the product market fit, and we can just do our own chain, whatever. That's the easiest piece of the puzzle. I don't know what the answer is because I'm not technical enough, but I think it's a very interesting discussion.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Base just breaks off and becomes their completely own thing, like not Ethereum aligned, just like their own L1? That would be crazy to see. And they for sure have the resources. You know, they're backed
Yeah.
by Coinbase, which is like they've been around for 15 years ish.
I mean,
Yeah.
totally possible. They're doing the lip service to Ethereum right now with this move, but it could just be the first step to just doing
Yeah.
their own thing.
Yeah, because you mentioned Starknet. I think Starknet tried to do something along those lines. Because if I remember correctly, I think Starknet was an L1
Mm.
that was
Mhm.
trying to like be EVM compatible, like Ethereum, like basically trying to take ETH spot, just trying to be an ETH killer,
Yeah.
like the rest of the L1s. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. Time will tell. OP
I think
definitely had like a weird use case, like trying to prop up other L2s.
yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting. Like, it's got to be a little bit terrifying for the Arbitrum team right now because Robinhood is building Robinhood Chain on
Yeah.
top of Arbitrum. And
Yeah.
now they might be
Mm.
like, oh, Vlad,
It's
you're not
just a
going to.
temporary thing. Yeah.
Which, I mean, is kind of a thing. I feel like we are seeing kind of a collapse of L2s back into the L1 of Ethereum. And maybe we'll see the collapse of some major L1s in, the near future. I think it's interesting when we see this contraction because I think it really kind of illustrates that users will go wherever there is money to be made or tech to be built, but they're so transitory that, like, I can't imagine the people that have, optimism tattoos. Like, who are these people? Like,
Yeah,
it's
dude, it's hard to
crazy.
build loyalty in crypto for
Yeah.
sure.
I think it's hard to build loyalty in finance.
But the other side of this is that interestingly that uh the ability, the compatibility, the ability to port code and whatever across all ETH compatible chains was part of the point,
Yeah.
part of the value, part of like what makes crypto different. Self custody is in the same vein. Take your whatever, your phrase, your code, whatever, and take it wherever you want to be because it's going to be compatible. And
Yeah.
that is part of the beautiful vision of decentralized blockchains of self custody.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, how do you balance that where you are like, I don't need open source, how do you balance that with loyalty? It's like it's based on love. Like it's just kind of like why community or whatever, which we can laugh at, but that's kind of what it comes to when everything is open source and decentralized, like why people stay in one place and not another. And which is why I always think that Ethereum's accomplishment to this day, we don't know how it will be in the future, but to this day is quite remarkable in that it has such a magnetic effect and
Yeah.
is able to maintain it.
And how have the memes been about this, Kale? Have you seen any absolute bangers on the collapse of optimism?
Of optimism? Not yet. Not yet. But I mean, I'm sure just give the trenches some time. They'll
That's
cook
true.
something up.
I do wonder if this will, like, if this and if we do continue to see some of the collapses of L2s, will kind of like we'll see less people being like, I'm starting an L2,
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
which I think will be
I think so,
interesting.
yeah.
I
I think that that effect is rippling through for sure.
I hope that leads to more use cases for crypto rather than just we're building an L2. We've got to work on this infrastructure. It's like, hold on, let's just build on the L1s we got already.
And I mean, I don't mind if that helps accelerate and deepen development on select L1 like Ethereum or even
For sure.
Bitcoin or whatever,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
There's privacy, there's quantum resistance, there's so much that needs to be done. I say this as if I'm running the Ethereum Foundation. So much work to be
Yeah.
done, and right. So so I think there's room for everybody to work on not one because that's centralization, but on several like really good L1s.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about work, shall we? And specifically, let's talk about people farming out some AI work, which led to Amazon's outage caused by their AI bots. We all know my thoughts on AI, but I always think it's funny when we see headlines like this. Kale, talk to me about it.
So wait, this outage was caused by just like too much activity?
That
No, it's um so Amazon requires, apparently, I learned after this news, that all of its coders, or like 80% of coders, need to code on AI at least once a week. So there's a requirement for that.
Mm.
And apparently an AI engineer agent, um the exact quote, which was spectacular, I think, is that in the process of its work, it decided that the best way would be to
delete
delete and
everything and start over.
recreate the environment.
It
And I was
decided.
like, if that is not the epitaph on humanity's grave when AI is done with us, like, I don't know what is. Delete and recreate. This thing stinks. Let's start from scratch. You know. So and that's what happened. It was one well, every time there have been several incidents, but every time it would be like one instance of something like that, and they're saying that it's an error of permissions. Like, AI works as
Yeah.
it's supposed to work, but the permissions were too wide with the operator of this AI in this instance. So it's like it's working as intended. It's great. It's just the permissions, and it wasn't wide. It wasn't bad. It
No.
wasn't whatever. It fixed it itself, whatever. But the specific error was delete and recreate, which I
Yeah.
think is
I see.
fantastic.
Interesting. I think this is why AI alignment is like the biggest. I mean, this is like controversial to say. There's going to be a lot of people upset, but in my opinion, it's the biggest issue that humanity is facing right now is AI alignment, because the bottom line is like this AI technology is like so powerful and it has the chance to like reshape so much in the world. And with that being said, if we don't align it correctly, like so much can go wrong. It's like that famous story of you ask the AI like, "Hey AI, you're super smart, solve world hunger." And then the AI is like, "Okay, I got you." And then it just kills all the humans. And it's like, "Okay, no more world hunger. The world
Yep.
hunger is gone now because there's no humans." So it's like
Like a valid solution. What can you say?
exactly, exactly. And so like that's what happened here. I assume like whoever prompted the AI or coded the AI, the dev like wasn't specific enough, and the AI was like, "Oh, I got you, dog. I'm gonna just delete everything." And so it's like, yeah, I feel like AI alignment is very important. I'm like not even 1% smart enough to like deal with that, but the people who are dealing with it, like I don't know, all I can do is hope, because yeah, if we don't figure out AI alignment, we're kind of screwed, I think.
And I think it's an interesting also point in human history. And I guess there's no such thing as coincidences. Nothing is accidental. And, like, I guess this is also connected. But uh, the values that, let's say, the three of us here, and even we may differ if we dig in, but on the surface, the values that we take for granted, the things that are obvious, like don't kill all the humans, um, the those obvious values are becoming less and less obvious with people, even among people. In the US, world
Yeah.
famously, we're dealing with some things where like people's values are diverging in ways they may not have expected, and
Yeah.
elsewhere in the world as well. And it's like an additional layer to that. We can't even agree on what are the obvious values ourselves.
Yeah.
And now we have to align an AI to a set of values that we can't agree on. So
That's such a good point.
I think we just have to go back on Asimov's rules of robotics. I mean, these hard-coded rules that these robots hopefully can't violate. Where it's like can't harm a human, can't put a human in danger, and I can't remember what the third one is. But yeah, no, I
it,
agree. The alignment's
but
crazy.
it's like I haven't read nearly enough Asimov, but I'm sure that he writes about instances where that stuff
Of
goes wrong as
course.
well. So, despite all the
Exactly.
rules.
I also do just love that with this Amazon outage, because of the AI deleting stuff, that's straight up an episode of Silicon Valley. Like, if you've never watched the show Silicon Valley, there is an episode where this exactly happens. And it's fantastic. Like, I'm going to go back and rewatch that show because, damn, it was ahead of its time.
Yeah, no, I've never seen it.
Yeah, oh, you have to. You will love it. But speaking of things that you will love, Kale, did you end up going to that space today on Colossus Pay?
No, it's in a couple
It
hours.
hasn't
Oh, it's in a
happened
couple
yet.
I'm
hours.
so
Okay.
excited to
Yeah,
check that
we're
out,
Okay,
bro.
waiting
okay,
for
well,
it. Yeah.
to chill me on Colossus Pay, because that's our next subject to talk about.
Yeah, so Colossus Pay, basically, so this guy, Joseph DeLonge, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but he is a pretty,
Also known as Joseph ETH, right? Because all
yeah,
of
on
these
Twitter,
like developers
Joseph.eth.
are Joseph ETH.
He's a pretty well-known Ethereum dev.
Mhm.
And just a couple of days ago, he released a video teasing Colossus Pay, which is a new, I don't know if it's like he's going to be a credit card issuer or like more of like a Visa or Mastercard type company. But basically, what Colossus allows for is non KYC, permissionless transacting on a POS terminal. So, like, you go to McDonald's, you go to Walmart or wherever you shop, um, and instead of dropping your Visa or Mastercard, you drop your Colossus card, and the transaction happens on chain. There's no KYC involved. Yeah, it's that's the main selling point. Really, is like there's no banks anymore. And Katya, like a few minutes ago, you were talking about like what's the hardest thing to do in crypto and be successful at. And this popped into my head, like because people for a long time have been trying to create a non KYC crypto card. Um, And in the past, like it depended on loopholes, basically. Like other non KYC cards were basically like just company cards, and they were giving out company cards to the users. And then on the back end, the users who were like, well, I have this no KYC card, and they're spending it in the back end, they're actually KYC to the company. So like in the past, these cards have depended on loopholes and things like that. But Colossus Pay basically is what he built is a straight up Visa / MasterCard competitor. It cuts out Visa and MasterCard. People can just go buy things with a credit card and the settlement happens on chain and there's no KYC. It's permissionless. So if for some reason you aren't allowed to have a bank account, like you can still transact using this very easily. So yeah, it's not released yet, but it's very, very exciting. Huge development in the crypto industry in general. Like people have been trying to do this for a long time.
And I think it's funny that they're positioning it as a competitor to Visa and MasterCard, because I don't even think MasterCard competes with Visa. I can't tell you how many times my wife's MasterCard just doesn't work. Like, it's crazy how many vendors do not accept MasterCard.
I don't know. I think you overstate. MasterCard is the only card I have, and I think it's all the same bullshit. Like, I don't notice whether it's
You
like,
never get vendors that are like, oh, we don't take MasterCard?
no,
Oh,
ever.
that's
Ever.
crazy.
I've had vendors not
Ever
accept
in
Discover.
15 or 20 years.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's a Discover card. You're right. That's what it is, Kale. I got
Discover, yeah.
confused.
Discover and
Yeah.
Amex, I get those sometimes.
Yeah.
Discover is different, but but MasterCard and Visa, I think, are pretty much equivalent. I don't even know why they're different companies. But yeah, it's like, I think what Colossus Pay is doing is they're a network. Like Visa and MasterCard are networks,
Yep.
like where you settle payments, right? So you can have different cards issued on it by all kinds of different banks, but it's usually a Visa or MasterCard, unless it's Amex, right? So and it's I'm curious. I think this is very nascent. Like it's just the beginning. Like he literally just has a proof of concept right now.
Yep.
He can prove that it works. He got it to work basically. But it's interesting because we've had um, crypto cards, which is basically the same thing on the same network. It's just the little glass marbles are not green, they're pink, and we have stable coins that are kind of, so it's people have worked on doing a little bit different on all kinds of angles to traditional finance, but not this. I think like somebody mentioned that Lightning Network maybe was doing something. But anyway, if something was done, it didn't make it to production, and
Yeah.
so we never learned about it. But this is saying this is the network separate from, so any card, any regular credit card can transact on this network. It's just plugging directly into the blockchain,
Yeah.
directly on chain. And I think previously some of the arguments against this, or saying that this is far away, were about Ethereum's scaling ability, about all of that stuff, which is now becoming increasingly resolved. So much so that we are now able to spam Ethereum, unfortunately. But um, so this is a new angle, a different angle from before. And I'm feeling like it's probably more challenging because those networks like Visa and Mastercard and are very entrenched, like
They're not just
just
gonna
like
roll over.
the big banking systems. Because imagine the amount of, I mean, you don't have to imagine, you can look it up, but like their daily, monthly, yearly amounts that go through them are immense.
Yeah.
So this is actually very interesting, and I don't know whether it's going to be allowed to go anywhere. Um, but it's also a demonstration of something that I think about a lot. And when people who are not familiar with crypto ask me about it, I talk to them about it a lot. That actually all of these things are now already technically possible. We can already technically exist without centralization, without centralized banks, without even centralized internet. It's hard, but it's technically already all possible. Like people talk about, energy. Like I'm not familiar enough, but they say that like alternative energy sources can sustain us fully already if they were
Mhm.
allowed to. I don't know if this is true, but to me it's similar because about blockchain, I know to 90% of certainty that this is true, that
Mhm.
all of these things are already possible. Like this guy is showing, it's possible to just do a Mastercard, but directly on chain without any kind of like interference. Let's see if it's going to be allowed to happen.
I also
Cypherpunks versus the world, baby.
I'm also just like, come on, why? What's with the name Colossus Pay? That's a lot of letters that I'm gonna
Yo.
misspell all the time. Why is it Pay? Why is everything Moon Pay and blah Pay? And I'm like, look at Visa and Mastercard. Like Visa made up took a quote unquote made up word and just made it a brand. Mastercard at least like is indicative of what it does. Like we could have been so interesting here, but no, it's
I
like,
think
what's a
Visa
nerd
is
word
Bro.
Pay?
because of
Bro, you hate on
Visa
everything.
traveling, right? Like because you can travel with it, and it's
I
like
have
your
no
Visa to the.
idea.
That's what I
Mastercard's a
assume
pretty
it is.
boring name too.
For sure.
You can't tell me you like Mastercard but not Colossus Pay.
At least makes it a little bit more. I'm like, what is it's a card. Okay. What is a pay? That sounds like am I tapping like the little square thing at my hipster copy thing? And then they're going to be like, turn it around and you want to leave a 35% tip? And it's like, God, no.
Yeah, that's fair. Colossus for
Wow,
sure would be
that struck a
smoother.
nerve.
Smoother
Did.
branding.
Little hipster coffee place.
Yeah, man. Like,
Speaking
I
from
don't know.
experience.
It's like one of those things where, we've got so many smart people in crypto that just are like, what's a nerd word? And then pay or moon or,
Moon
and
money.
it's absolutely crazy.
Space cash.
Could have branded this really coolly and they still can rebrand, but
I
man.
think it's just early. I think if they
Yeah.
get to it, they might rebrand to something that's better, because I think this is quite like minimal viable product.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I would love to see, the networks expand and really kind of streamline, because we all know that the payment rails for things like Visa and MasterCard are antiquated, old, and slow, which is why you get that
And the
like,
more you dig, it's like that famous XKCD cartoon, like where it's like all of the internet infrastructure, and then
mhm,
this little like
the little thing
piece,
just propping it
yeah,
all
that
up.
somebody is running unpaid, since 1991. It's like if you take it out, everything topples. I think with traditional finance, it's kind of like the more you dig, the more you find that at the bottom of it, there's just like one really old thing that hasn't
Yeah.
been updated since 1970. And if and everybody actually in the end uses it and depends on it, like I think it's kind of like that.
No, I agree. All right, well, let's wrap things up where we started with talking about OpenClaw, Clawbot. That's been all over my socials, people talking about this. It's caused, the spike of the Mac Mini purchases. These people are like, I want my own Clawbot. The acquisition is interesting. But then kind of what is interesting about this is, so the short of the story is, their Discord is now banning any use of the term crypto, blockchain, Bitcoin, Ethereum, all of that, because of course, crypto users do what crypto users do. When someone made a fake coin, trying to capitalize on this, ran it up to like $16 million. And it shows that the Claw team, which also got a cease and desist from Claude, saying it was too close, and then there was drama over all of that. They speaking of alignment, kind of very much are overcorrecting with a hammer, I think, being like, nobody can mention crypto in our Discord or whatever, which is crazy because like people talk about AI agents and being able to do stuff on chain. But talk to me about your guys' thoughts on Claw and then this specific like policing of community.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, unfortunately, this is kind of a common occurrence in crypto. And it makes sense, because we're dealing with money. And anytime you're dealing with money, like there will be bad actors who will try to take advantage of others. But I agree with what you said about like the ban hammer thing and them like coming down too hard. But I see both sides, because like what this reminds me of is online games banning players from buying in-game currency.
Mhm.
And they're like, okay, this is a problem that we don't want. And so like they can try to deal with it, but like no matter what they do, it's still gonna exist.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's how I feel about this Discord ban, because it's like it makes sense. You want to ban everybody talking about crypto in the Discord to prevent your users from being scammed. But it's like, I don't know, like those chats are just going to move to Telegram. They're going to move to Twitter, private groups.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It makes sense they're trying to protect profits, but it seems like they're coming at it in the wrong way with the ban hammer.
But Katya, you're the queen of community. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think so the ban was actually directly related to the Anthropic Claude conflict of interests, because when they came after him for Claudebot being too close to Anthropic Claude, he had to change
The Twitter
his
handle.
handles. Yeah. And in the whatever the amount of time was where he released those handles, and before they were appropriated by Anthropic, I guess, somebody was able to take control of them and release this token, Claude with a W, which rugged people. And so, a big part of this was human error, that they did not coordinate this handover of the handles appropriately. Which, a lot of very smart people involved in this. You would think that they would be able to anticipate this eventuality and prepare for it, right? And execute it in a way that prevented that from happening. And B, the overlap in AI and crypto technologies and AI and crypto communities is so tremendous at this point. Like the overlap of
they're basically the same circle.
Right? Yes. It's like like the overlap of crypto with a lot of cutting edge technologies really overlap in terms of who is using them. It's the same early users, it's the same communities, and gamers are like in all of these pies. So I think it's naive to be like, oh, this one thing happened to naive and kind of like pussy, to be honest. Like this one thing happened to us, and we're just gonna block everything. It's like, welcome to the world. This is what happens. And I find it kind of like, on one hand, you're creating this tool that can basically delete and recreate your entire computer, which is why people are buying separate computers. So you're really ballsy on that front. Like, and now you want to ban everybody from crypto because you got hurt and you got a little woo woo because of the, so like kind of, I think, yeah, I think it's, it displays a sort of immaturity of approach, which is, no big news. Like we're getting a lot with AI of these projects and people who are building shit that they can't, who, who have never had to wrangle with a toddler as of yet in their life. So there's no way that they are controlling this technology or understanding how to manage it in an efficient way.
Yeah.
So I just think it's kind of like a little bit of a display of the immaturity of the space in some senses. Both the AI early space and the crypto space, obviously, which is no news to anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, these guys have never wrangled a toddler. They for sure can't handle the 30 toddlers on chain.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
30 of
And
us.
Yeah.
I do feel like this is also just like inviting in the Streisand effect, with this ban hammer. Would you guys know what the Streisand effect is, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
brings more
Perfect.
attention to it.
Does the
Exactly.
listener just give a
Well,
little?
Oh, sure. Like, okay, so the Streisand effect takes its name from Barbara Streisand, who listed her mansion in Santa Barbara for sale, and it got posted on the internet being like, oh, this is Barbara Streisand's mansion and it's up for sale. She said, don't put my name on it. Don't say it's Barbara Streisand's thing. And this went from getting like 10 views a day to just millions of views a day because she was like, take it down. And it just like
Yeah.
turned the eyes of the internet to it.
Yeah.
And I do think that this could bring the eyes of even more scammers to
Yeah.
the clawbot of it all.
Yeah, like if they weren't talking about this, so many people just wouldn't know about it.
I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have, and I work in crypto, and I'm usually pretty good about hearing stuff like
Yeah,
this.
and I
But
think even they never officially announced it, and some guy who posted about Bitcoin strictly in a technical context, like he was talking about development of something, and got banned, and he posted it on socials, and then the CEO
Yeah.
came out and said like, "Oh yeah, we did ban all of
oh
it."
yeah, well, there's that. Yeah, no, it's absolutely crazy. But it is also a great spot to end this week's episode on. So thank you, dear listener, for tuning in. We appreciate you being here. We hope you feel smarter because you should. Thank you both for joining me, and I'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.